So welcome to this pre-departure session for UQ Abroad. Hopefully you're all here because you're going on exchange in semester 1 2017. If you're not going on exchange in semester 1 2017, well, this session's probably not going to be that relevant for you, so you can head back out and get back to exam study. But hopefully you're all getting very excited about going overseas. It's not long to go now. Please excuse my voice. I'm hoping that it will last for the rest of the session. So what we're going to go through today in this pre-departure session, there's lots and lots of really important information for you today. It will go over about 2 hours, so please bear with us. It's all going to be really important for you for your exchange moving forward. So I'll just do a bit of a welcome. I should probably introduce myself first, and then I'll introduce the team, so if they wanted to come down the front. My name's Caroline. I'm the team leader at UQ Abroad, and I also look after the portfolio for Continental Europe and Latin America. We've got our manager, Jan McCreary. And coming down the steps, we've got the rest of our advisors in the team. So I'll start with Eunice. Eunice looks after the portfolio of Canada, Ireland, Israel, Scotland, New Zealand, South Africa. Got them all. Then we have Ian. Ian is our advisor for Asia and England. And he's only just joined us. He's about, what, day four? Day four in the office. So he's brand new, but he'll be looking after everyone going to Asia and England next semester. He'll do a great job. He's just come back from Japan. He's been working in Japan for 3 years. So anyone going to Japan, you can practice your Japanese with him. And finally, we've got Etty. And Etty looks after students going to Scandinavia and the USA. So if you do have any questions at all through your exchange process, feel free to contact any of us. We're more than willing to help you and to answer any questions that we can. Thanks, guys. So during the session today, we're going to hear from Jan, who's going to talk to you about the UQ Corporate Travel and Health Insurance, because, of course, you are automatically covered by that insurance while you're on exchange. So Jan's going to give you some more information about that. We'll then hear from Dr. Murray Bingham from the Health Services here at UQ about some travel and health suggestions and advisories and warnings for you before you go overseas. We'll be hearing from some returned UQ Abroad exchange students about their experience on exchange and giving you some tips and hints about how to prepare and what to do when you first arrive at your host university. We'll then be hearing from Sharon from Student Services here at UQ, who'll be talking about culture shock. Now, for some of you going to maybe the UK, US, Canada, you're thinking that culture shock, that's not really going to be a big issue for me, but it may be more of an issue than you think. So that culture shock presentation from Sharon's going to be really important. I'll then come back to you and I'll give you a few of the logistics about going on exchange, some enrolment issues, when you arrive at your host university, if you're having trouble with courses, what to do, and a few other little tidbits. Then we'll hear from Dave, who works at the UQ Advantage office, and he's going to give a presentation about staying connected with UQ while you're overseas. Photos, videos, posts, Facebook, social media, all those kind of things. And then finally, we'll hear from Andrea, who'll talk to us about employability and how to use your exchange experience as you go forward after you finish study and head into the workplace, because what you're about to do is not really that common. You think of the whole student cohort that we have here at UQ, how many students actually go on exchange? Not that many. It's not a huge percentage. And when you look at all of the graduates that are going to be entering the workforce, you guys are going to have a really, really unique experience that you can draw on to present yourself to employers in the best possible light. So, a few statistics to get us started. So we've got almost 300 of you going on exchange in semester 1 2017. And we've got about 20% going to UK and Ireland, 40% to Europe and Scandinavia, 26% to US and Canada, 9% to Asia, 9 students, that didn't quite make a percentage point, 9 students going to Latin America, and 2 students heading to New Zealand and South Africa. So hopefully you've been able to meet some people in the room that are going to similar destinations as you, and hopefully you can keep up those contacts. It's always great to know where other people are so that you can maybe do some couch hopping or some couch surfing while you're overseas. So from today's session, this is actually being recorded through Echo 360, and so it's going to be able to be uploaded to the UQ Abroad website in the next couple of days. So you can come back and you can listen to this session again if you want to refresh any of the details that we give to you today. Also online, and I'll just jump there right now, we've got a pre-departure guide. Now this is a really comprehensive document. that fills in all of the details that we go through today. So hopefully you're all very familiar with the UQ Abroad website. If we go to the Prepare to Go section, and then we scroll down to Attend a Pre-Departure session, Pre-Departure materials for Semester 117, that's where you'll find your pre-departure guide and the presentation from today. At the back of the pre-departure guide, there is a really, really useful checklist of all the things that you need to make sure that you've done, all the documents that you need to have in order before you go on your exchange. So please make sure that you do consult that document after you've attended today's session. Now, a bit of a hands up around the room. Who here has already received full acceptance from UQ Abroad, study plan approved by their faculty, a host university acceptance, and a visa in their passport? Anyone? Okay, not very many people. So for all of you out there panicking because you haven't got all of those yet, don't panic. It's okay. These things do take time. Unfortunately, we're not in control of the host university, and we don't know exactly when those documents are going to be issued. So if you haven't got all of those documents in place yet, it's okay. They will come. Just to give you an example, if you're going to Russia, those acceptance letters aren't issued by the host university until 2 weeks before the start of class. So just be thankful you're not going to Russia. So most of the universities will get you your acceptance letters before that, but you need to be aware that it might not be too much before that. So this is why we've continuously said throughout the process, don't plan any travel before your exchange commences, because we just simply don't know when you're going to have all of those important documents in place. Funding. So you should have all received an email from Jan recently about scholarships. So the scholarships are currently being allocated. Jan's got a meeting this afternoon to finish that off. And so hopefully everyone who's been successful in receiving a scholarship should be notified by the 18th of November. If you haven't heard by then, probably means that you haven't received a scholarship, but I do believe that there will be an email sent out to confirm that you haven't received a scholarship. So you should receive one email or another. The OS Help Loan, I believe that some of those loans have started to be paid out for those students who've been receiving acceptance letters from the host university. If you do have any questions about your OS Help Loan or where that's up to or what information you might need to provide to complete that process, please feel free to contact UQ Abroad or the UQ Advantage office because they're the ones who actually process the payment of the loan. Anyone who's currently receiving Centrelink here in Australia, you can still receive Centrelink while you're on exchange. Hopefully you all knew that already, but if you didn't, you can still receive Centrelink. You will need to provide Centrelink with a letter from UQ Abroad to say that you are enrolled as a UQ Abroad student while you're on exchange, and they should be able to continue your payments. If you don't currently receive Centrelink, have a look into their eligibility criteria because you may become eligible living away from home, for example. So have a look into those requirements, and if you need, request a Centrelink letter from UQ Abroad. There's a request WUFU form that we ask you to fill in from the UQ Abroad website. That comes into our inbox and we can do the form from there. Enrolment. So you will be enrolled automatically in the 4 exchange codes, EXCH, in late November. In order to do this, we need to make sure that you don't have any outstanding fines, library fines, or any of those other things that may prohibit us from enrolling you into the exchange codes. So I know you're all in exam mode, but please just have a quick check to make sure that you're going to be able to be enrolled in these exchange codes when the time comes in late November. We will need you to check that your enrolment is correct before the census date, which is March 31st next year. So you guys are lucky because most of your host universities will start January, February, and you'll have plenty of time to fix in your enrolment at the host university before it comes to the census date here at UQ. For students going in UQ's second semester, most of the universities start after the census date, so they're in a bit more of a difficult position. But for all of you, you should have enough time to sort out your host university enrolment before the census date comes around. So that's all from me for the moment. So we'll move on to Jan, who's going to give you some information about the UQ corporate insurance.
Okay, as Caroline mentioned, all of you going on exchange are automatically covered by UQ's corporate insurance. So I'm here today just to go through what that means. So first of all, are you eligible? You are actually all eligible, but just to confirm that, so automatic travel insurance coverage applies once the following requirements are met: that you must be a currently enrolled student at UQ, and you are all currently enrolled now, and you will all be currently enrolled in your semester on exchange. You must be on UQ authorized travel, which you are. You also have to complete a travel notification template. Now, those of you who are receiving any kind of funding through UQ Abroad or the UQ Advantage Office, such as OS Help or a grant or a loan, will be requested to complete this travel spreadsheet. And those of you who are not receiving any kind of funding will also be asked to complete the spreadsheet. So everyone has to complete it. It's quite straightforward, and once you've completed it, then you send it back to the UQ Advantage office. Once you've completed the travel spreadsheet, it gets forwarded to the insurance office, and they provide you with a travel notification number. So that's an important number just to keep note of, because that's the number that you will need to refer to if you're making a claim or if you want to request any other kind of documentation that I'll be talking about in a minute. So, when are you covered? You are covered for a maximum of 5 days immediately prior to your semester, and that does include any kind of orientation that you're going to, and we would strongly encourage you to go to your host university orientation, and also if you're going to be participating in language classes before the semester actually begins. So those 5 days that you might need to travel to your destination, it doesn't mean going via the Greek islands. It means the last part of your travel to your host destination, you will be covered. If you need to be at your host destination maybe 2 or 3 days before the semester begins in order to settle into your accommodation, you'll be covered for those 2 or 3 days, as it says here, up to 5 days. And again, a maximum of 5 days after your semester ends. Once again, that gives you time to finish your semester, pack up, and leave the host university destination. So when do you need your own insurance? So if you're undertaking any extensive travel before or after your exchange, basically. Now, of course, you're not going to be traveling before your exchange, are you? Because we've strongly suggested that you shouldn't be, because you need to make sure you've got your acceptance letter and your visa. But if you're undertaking any extensive travel outside of those 5 days after the exchange finishes, you will need to purchase your own insurance. Also, it says here, private trips to a security level 3 or level 4 country. Now, a level 3, if there's a travel advisory level 3, it means reconsider your need to travel. And UQ does not support students going to countries or regions or cities that have either a level 3 or a level 4 advisory. Level 4 says do not travel. Just to give you an example of a level 3 advisory, at the moment Istanbul is a level 3. Due to the terrorist attacks that have gone on there pretty much randomly throughout this year, Istanbul is a level 3 advisory according to the Australian government, which is why we no longer send students to our partners there. So just be aware that if you decide that you want to go and visit Istanbul, for example, you will not be covered by UQ's corporate insurance. So you can get extra travel insurance through the Chubb travel insurance, and at this point I just need to... The cards that you got coming in, this is information about ACE assistance. Now, I know this is a bit confusing, but ACE has been bought out by Chubb. So this information on the card is correct, except that it's just a different name. So the Chubb travel insurance is in fact the ACE, what used to be ACE insurance, and you can purchase additional personal insurance through the Chubb travel insurance if you want to, or you can purchase your own insurance. Of course, you're not obliged to purchase this insurance. What if you have two insurance policies? So a lot of people might be covered by their parents' policy. You might have purchased another policy that has to cover you for the entire length of your time away from Australia because it's a cheaper way rather than purchasing little bits of insurance, say if you're going to be traveling immediately before or after your exchange. If you have two insurance policies, you will need to claim on your other insurance policy before you claim on your UQ insurance policy. And if you have any questions about this, it's best to talk to the insurance office here at UQ. So we've already mentioned this, for security reasons, so the level 3, reconsider your need to travel, or level 4, do not travel. The UQ travel insurance does not cover you for countries, regions, or cities with those advisories. And it's a good idea before you start traveling to check what the advisory is for the places that you're going to, because this can change. I mean, last November, Paris went, after the Paris attacks, that went up to at least a level 3 advisory for about 2 weeks. Please visit Smart Traveller to make sure that the destinations that you are traveling to during your personal travel are safe. And you can also register and receive the latest warnings. So if you're planning on going to a bunch of places, say in Europe or Asia, then you can register for the countries that you're planning on traveling to, and you can get updates throughout your trip. So there's additional free travel information through Red 24. This just gives you a little bit more information that you might find that you need in addition to information that you would get on the government website, the travel advisory. Okay, so in case of emergency, and this is what the card is that we have given you, the Chubb Assistance, or as it says on your card, ACE Assistance. This is a toll-free number that you can contact them and then ask for it's instant telephone assistance or advice anywhere in the world, and you just need to quote the insurance number which is on the back of your card. So it's a good idea to keep this card in your wallet. This is a 24/7 emergency number that you can contact. If you're sick, you're not sure what to do. If you're in hospital, then you are obliged to contact the insurance if you're going to claim, if you're going to make a claim based on that hospital admission. Okay, so if you have a pre-existing medical condition, you need to have your doctor complete a fit to travel report. So this is available on the insurance website. You can see the information up there. And that needs to happen within 30 days of your journey. So you need to be aware that the insurer will not be liable for any expenses incurred when a journey is undertaken against the advice of a doctor or when the covered person is unfit to travel. For any medication or ongoing treatment for a condition that is a pre-existing condition, it commenced prior to the commencement of your journey, or for routine medical, optical or dental treatment or consultation. So to find the insurance web page, there's a few clicks that you need to go to. So first of all, on the UQ insurance web page, and then click on Insurance. Then you click on Insurance for Students. And again, click on Travel. And then there's really all the information that you need about the travel insurance. And I will just quickly go to this summary here, which you can download from the website. It's a very comprehensive summary of what you are covered for while you're on exchange, and there's also at the end a lot of FAQs. It's quite lengthy, but it's a good idea just to download this and keep a copy with you. or you might want to give it to your parents just so that they're aware of what you're covered for. Okay, certificate of currency. So once you've completed the travel spreadsheet and you've received the travel notification number, you can request a certificate of currency. So the certificate of currency is basically confirmation that you are insured, and it states the name of the organization that you're insured under. So these are often required for a visa. So if you know that this is one of the documents that you need in order to get your visa, this is something that you will have to request beforehand. Sometimes it's also required by the host university, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. So you can contact insurance to request a certificate of currency, and you just have to provide them with all of that information there. And like I say, the travel notification number you'll be given once you've completed the travel spreadsheet. I know this is a lot of information to take in, but as Caroline said, this is being recorded and all of the slides will be available as well. Some of you, particularly if you're going to the United States, will have the opportunity of requesting a waiver. So many of our American partners require that you purchase their health insurance, and this would allow you to use their facilities on campus. If you want to avoid purchasing an additional insurance, you can request a waiver to see if you can avoid purchasing this additional insurance. So your host university will give you a form that looks something like this, an insurance waiver, and this has to be completed by our insurance office here. So most of the time it will work, but it doesn't necessarily mean just because our insurance office signs the document, it doesn't mean that you will necessarily get that waiver, because it is up to the host university to determine whether or not they feel that the insurance you've got is suitable or meets their requirements. And although the insurance you have from UQ is very comprehensive, there are sometimes just little things in there that the host university will say, no, we really want you to purchase our insurance. So you do need to be aware of that, but if you're going to the United States and you want to see if you can avoid purchasing their insurance, this is a possibility to get a waiver. If you need to make a claim, you do have to send in the claim documents within 30 days of the event, whether it's losing your passport, whether it's being robbed, whether it's having an accident or being sick, ending up in hospital. So you can access the travel insurance claim form on the website. You'll have to make sure that you include any supporting documentation, such as doctor's report. Police report is really important. So if you've had any kind of, you've been involved in a theft, or a traffic accident, for example, it is really important to get a police report, and preferably in English. If you get that police report in a foreign language, then do have it translated into English professionally so that you can submit it as one of the supporting documents when you're making the claim. Okay, so you also must contact Chubb assistance in the event that you are admitted to hospital or where medical costs may exceed $2,500, and that would be Australian dollars. Loss or theft of a mobile phone must be reported to the service provider and must get blocked, and you also have to have written approval if you've been from Chubb's medical advisory prior to the resumption of the assignment or travel if you've been ill. So what are you covered for? So as I said, more information is in the summary that you can find online, but these are some of the things you're covered for. So medical and additional expenses if incurred in an accident or sickness. Now, the excess, so $100 excess, that means the money that you have to pay initially, and that's the amount of money that you would not be able to claim back from the expenses incurred. Cancellation, loss of deposits, baggage, so if you lose all your baggage, there's a $250 excess on that. Electronic equipment, there is a big excess, $500 excess. If your laptop gets destroyed or stolen, you lose your mobile phone. Money, travel documents, again, that's a $250 excess. Missed transport connections, overbooked flights, evacuation. So this means, particularly when you're looking at the missed transport connection, it's not when you go on a holiday. If you're studying in London and you're planning on going to Paris and you miss the flight, that's not included in this. It's really getting to and from your host destination. Okay, some other examples. Backpack containing a laptop was stolen, requiring evacuation back to Australia, broken collarbone, playing volleyball. So as long as you're playing non-professional sports, if you incur an injury, you are covered. You are covered if you're skiing, so broken arm while skiing, again, if it's non-professional. Passport stolen, missed connecting flights. Okay, so some things that are not covered. Obviously, if you're doing something illegal or criminal, you're not covered for doing those things. If you are under the effect of alcohol or drugs, any medical expenses incurred in Australia. So this is travel insurance, so therefore it only starts once you're outside of Australia. Routine medical, optical or dental treatment. So anything that's routine, if you're going to just go to the dentist for a check, that's not covered by this insurance. Leaving your electronic equipment unattended is also not covered. Okay, just to go through a couple of case studies. So this is a student, he was 22, inexperienced traveller, studying on exchange in Germany, and these are real cases, but not at UQ. Going on a field trip to France. He was leaving on Saturday, his passport was stolen. Told by the French officials that they can't travel into France without a valid passport. So he didn't take a copy of his passport. He notified the embassy and was told it would take a week to get a new passport. He had to cancel his trip to France, and all his flights were non-refundable. So what went wrong? He didn't take a copy of his passport. He didn't book refundable flights, which of course are a bit more expensive, maybe not possible. But what worked? He notified the local police and got a police report. So again, that's very important. He contacted the Australian embassy and asked for assistance. He also notified Chubb Assistance, the card that you got, and he notified his home university. Okay. Here's another one. Traveling to Denmark for the semester, experienced traveller, fit and well. And this person went to the gym after lectures, used the bathroom near the sauna. The door locked, and the student was locked in the toilet cubicle. He couldn't raise any assistance because there was no one around. He could not escape, and he was right next to the sauna. So he became very anxious. After 2 hours, with the temperature increasing due to the sauna, he climbed up the side wall, squeezed through a gap. He suffered cuts and abrasions, plus a sprained ankle. He contacted Chubb Assistance and referred to a doctor and a counsellor. So what went wrong? The door. No one would have missed the student for possibly 24 hours because they were not due for lectures until the next day. At least, so what did work, the student knew who to contact immediately, he obtained medical care quickly, and he had access to counsellors immediately. Okay, just one more case study. You might remember this one. So there were two students travelling to the US for intercollegiate mining games. The two students were on private travel in New Orleans, and they allegedly approached a man wanting to buy drugs. They left with the man who drove them to a dodgy part of town. When they got out of their car, another man approached them and demanded money. When they said they didn't have it, they were shot. One student was shot in the stomach and the other in the chest. The assailant fled. Both students were hospitalized, and one student has a long road to recovery. So what went wrong? Didn't know the area very well. allegedly tried to purchase illegal substances, and left in a vehicle driven by a stranger. What worked? Not much. The travel insurance may not apply if it's proven that an illegal criminal act was committed. So just, that was case study number 3. Okay, if you do have any questions, then it's probably best for you to contact the insurance office. Unfortunately, the insurance office was unable to come today to give this presentation, and they're really the experts in this area. So I will pass you now to Murray.
Just before we get Murray up, just hopefully you've all been paying attention, and there are some chocolate photo frogs up for grabs here, so I've got a few quick questions just to test if you're all listening. So, hands up. How many days before and after your exchange will the exchange cover? ACE has been bought out by who? What levels of travel warning will the insurance not cover? And last one, where can you find the policy number of the UK corporate insurance? This one was best. Very good, on the card. Excellent. So after each presenter, there's going to be some questions like that and chances for chocolate, so keep listening. It's usually down or right, or on the mouse, left click. Yep. All right, everyone, if we can just get your attention again. So we've now got Dr. Murray Bingham from the UQ Health Service. Thanks, everyone. So we've got Dr. Murray Bingham here from the UQ Health Services. So please listen up and get some more Freddo Frogs after Murray's finished.
Right. Are you going to ask the question?
I can.
Okay, no, you can. That's good. So my name's Murray Bingham. I work at the UQ Health Service. Also have a general practice just at the Ville. I may have met a few of you before. And I'm assuming after that talk, some of you still want to go? Yeah, okay. So what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about risk management, not what happens. Insurance is what you need when things go wrong. What happens before then is probably the more important in lots of ways, not putting yourself in a situation of risk. So if 75% of language is non-verbal, probably at least 75% of language is non-verbal, you just got to notice the culture around you. And there are no written rules in cultures. There may be different cultural appreciations in a different part of the same country, like the southern states of America compared to the northeastern states, for instance, where in the northeastern states the policeman's more likely to be your friend than they are in the southern states, depending on what colour you are. There are no rules, no rules are written. You've just got to notice what's happening around you and be as sensitive as one can be. And there's a rule of, there's a law of natural consequences that applies if my son puts his bike behind my car late in the afternoon and I have to go out, that bike's going to get hurt. But there's the law of natural consequences. It's a bit unfair, but in some countries gender makes a difference and men can do things and women, it's not as acceptable if women do those things in some countries. In some countries it's quite acceptable to do the same thing. But there are natural consequences to using alcohol when it becomes a poison, which is dose and quality, of course. Now, you might remember this incident. I don't know what you can see wrong with that. Looks to be a few things wrong with that. But they don't look very fit, do they? They don't look like they've really been preparing for their trip. Very well. So physically they didn't prepare. But clearly they hadn't done their cultural work either, had they? Because drinking out of a shoe, I think that is using a shoe to drink out of in a Muslim country is an insult as well, as I understand. Shoes are not to be used for anything else but wearing them. Yeah, very interesting and very intelligent group of young Australian, highly educated men. well connected. Anyway, natural consequences. 3 days, or was it 4 days, 4 nights in a Malaysian jail. I don't think that's a very nice space to be in at the best of times. They all got out, but it would have been touch and go for them for a while. America. Doctors cost money, a lot of money. The same thing, if you go to an A&E department in America for an examination, it could cost you $2,000–3,000 for 2 or 3 hours assessment. The same thing in this country would cost the Australian government probably $300–400. So there's a big quantum shift in terms of costs when you're travelling overseas if you're not insured. And if you're in some places, that's what will happen. If you've got no insurance, they won't see you. They won't treat you. Now, this is someone with the flu. This is one thing you can protect against. The flu season's about to start in America, Northern Hemisphere. The flu vaccine for that season is exactly the same vaccine as we had in this country for our winter. It's still available. If there's some at the University Health Service, you can find it around in pharmacies. So it's probably wise before you go to the Northern Hemisphere to have a flu vaccination. It's the same as I said, the same as what we had. The other one you might consider, by the way, vaccination-wise, is meningitis, which is Bexsero vaccination, which is useful, just a one-off shot, because there is a slight increase in risk for people between the ages of 19 and about 23. Instead of being about 2 in 100,000, I think it's up to about 5 in 100,000. So you can take your chances, but it's a very effective vaccination. Yes, so there's all sorts of things that can go wrong. Depends what you eat. Actually, some of these look pretty good, I reckon. Depends how vegan you are. Now, cars, driving accidents. You know, young males tend to be fairly confident drivers, or certainly I was. As a medical student, I remember being in Madrid, heading south to Malaga, and finding myself entering a freeway by going up the off-ramp. And that was a bit of a wake-up call. Luckily, I wasn't going very fast. And that just happened after a bit of fatigue and driving for a fair while. So one has got to be really careful, particularly if you're on motorbikes anywhere. And so travel is really... accidents are probably the most likely thing to damage your trip. You need both legs. So motorbikes aren't a good idea because you need both legs in your life generally. Now, yes, so remember which side of nowadays in Europe and North America, I think just about everywhere you go they've got signs. I know in Europe there's signs, look left, look right. Bikes are the hardest because you can't hear them coming. And a bike can do a fair bit of damage, just a push bike. And all of the Europeans expect you to know that there are bikes coming. Even in the UK you'll find bikes everywhere. You won't find as many bikes in America. But a friend of mine who's a surgeon went for a run when he arrived in America just 3 months ago, went for a run and ended up with a broken leg. Just a bit jet-lagged, ran across the road. He still gave his talk the next day though, at the conference. All right, so avoid motorbikes. Yes. STDs, you know, same rules apply. These are good for protection against STDs. They're also good for protection against pregnancy as well. Mosquitoes, depending where you're going. You know, you can take something from malaria, but you can't take anything to protect from dengue, chikungunya, West Nile virus, Kunji virus, Japanese encephalitis. Oh, you can get immunisation against Japanese encephalitis, but mosquitoes are your enemy. Then there's Zika as well. Now, you will get the handouts of this particular talk, and there's a link to the Zika information depending on where you're going. I think the southern states of America are particularly affected at the moment, or possibly affected. Some of the Asian countries as well. Don't think there's anything in the European side of things. Dengue, avoid mozzie bites. You can take prevention against malaria. Avoid tick bites. I think Northern Hemisphere ticks are hibernating at the moment, luckily. But northeastern states of America, ticks are nasty. In Europe, if you're hiking in Central Europe, ticks are nasty, cause Lyme disease. Everybody's heard about Lyme disease. There's no Lyme disease in Australia, but there is in Europe and North America. Rabies, some countries you can get vaccination. You get pre-exposure prophylaxis. It's a course of 3 jabs before you go. India particularly, I think, is the place that most people worry about. South America. So about 6 weeks before you travel, go and see your local doctor and just have a talk about what you might need to do before you go. Childhood vaccinations, the most important ones are these, and once again you can look at the link, or you can download, or you'll have access to these files anyway. Most of you should have had a whooping cough booster if you went to an Australian high school in grade 10, so you should be covered. It lasts about 10 years. Hepatitis B, you should have been covered at high school, but the flu vaccination again is pretty important. That's one of the most likely things you are to get in travel. And as you know, if you're caught around someone behind you or in front of you in a plane, you cannot escape their cough. You will get whatever they've got. All right, and if you're going to a poor country, a tropical country, you're really going to specifically have to go into the specific risks of that particular country. Now, one of the things is the university likes all of the student abroad population to take a letter from your doctor if you've got any medication. The particular one we worry about is anything containing codeine or narcotics. Codeine is a narcotic. So just be very careful about what you're taking and get a letter. And we've already talked about talking to your insurance company about pre-existing conditions. Right, so these are all going to be available if you can have a look at them. There's plenty of reading to do. So it's probably going to be the first time you're going to be away without immediate family to guide you as to what to do. So you might just go through immediate family before you go to see what you will take with you. As I said, you will need some extra advice, medically speaking, to go to a poor country. If you're going to do any trekking in a malarious country, the mosquito net impregnated with permethrin is ideal. That's got the highest chance of preventing malaria because they're nighttime biting mosquitoes and they don't like mosquito nets, and they don't like it particularly when they've got insecticidal through them. But you've really got to sleep in screened accommodation, water purification, etc. Everything else is you've probably come across all the rest before. You might get some medication to treat severe traveller's diarrhoea. There are some antibiotics which can be useful in that situation. And they're the links for you to have a look at. The CDC site, that's the Atlanta site in America, that's pretty well up to date for most things. The Zika information is kept up to date on that link in the Australian government site, so that's really worth a read too if you go into any of those areas. And I think that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Murray. Did anybody have any specific questions for Murray? No? As he said, consult your local GP and they're going to be able to give you all the necessary information that you need. Thanks, Murray. Okay, chocolate time. What did Murray say is more important than insurance? Risk prevention, very good. How's the best way to prevent against the flu? Flu vaccination. What were some of the road rules? Ooh. Very good. Know which side of the road you need to be on. And last one, when should you go and see your doctor before you head overseas? 6 weeks, about 6 weeks before you depart. Very good. Okay. So now we're going to move on to our student presenters, and I've just deleted the presentation. Okay, so we've got some returned exchange students to come and speak with you today. We've got Bogart coming down the stairs. Bogart went to China, but he'll give you a bit more detail on that. And we've also got Etty, who went on exchange to South Korea. So Etty's now one of our team, but she was an exchange student through UQ Abroad as well a little while ago. So Etty and Bogart are going to give you some tips from a student perspective.
Sure. Hi, yeah, as Caroline said, I'm Bogart. I went to China in Ningbo, went to the University of Nottingham, their China campus, and yeah, I just want to start off and say that, you know, good on you guys for doing this. It's like one of the best experiences you'll do at university for sure. So.
Hi, and everyone already knows me. I'm Eddie. I went to Yonsei University in Korea a few semesters back. Let's just say that. And yeah, good on you all for going on exchange. It's scary. It's a stressful time before you go, but then you'll laugh about it later, and you don't have to worry about the stress. And yeah, we're just going to talk about our top tips for exchange today. Did you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so just want to start off with packing. So yeah, ultimately it depends on your personal preferences, but we always give the advice of packing light, so because you can always buy what you need overseas, and no doubt you're going to want to bring gifts and memoirs and things home anyways. So yeah, so maybe half what you have once you've packed. But yeah, so remember to keep your important documents with you and not in your checked luggage. So that includes like your passport, IDs, visa, probably like your flights, itinerary if you have that, maybe bank statements and things. Also even copies of your bank cards, like photocopy your actual bank cards, because I know it's quite often to lose those on exchange. And yeah, just have a backup card as well in case you lose one. I think with a lot of travel cards they always tend to give you 2 cards. So yeah, that's handy even if you're not taking any travel cards. And I would also suggest bringing a small amount of the foreign currency of the country you'll be going to, because yeah, you'll just need that for initially, like when you initially get there, especially if you're transiting somewhere. Like Singapore, I know is a pretty popular place, so maybe have some Singapore dollars as well. Yeah, and yeah, keep a small wallet of essential items rather than a large wallet. And yeah, don't bring bulky cards you'll be using. Yeah, just when you're packing your carry-on luggage for your flight, bring some emergency things in case flights get delayed or luggage gets lost. I know that's happened to quite a few people before. So, you know, underwear, laptop, socks, toothbrush, whatever. Yeah, with electronics and chargers, I suggest getting one of those chargers with the converter and the USB above it. They have a USB port above it. Those are really handy because you can charge like your laptop and your phone at the same time. But in any case, get 2, like a spare converter as well, because it's pretty hard to get converters for Australian plugs overseas. You know, and obviously in case you lose one, and if you want to go on a weekend trip, you'll have one to take. Just going on weekend trips and like short travel trips that a lot of people tend to do on exchange. Yeah, bring like a good backpack with you, like a small backpack along with your big luggage or big suitcase as well that you can take on these trips with you. Yeah, and I'd suggest also bringing a couple of Australian souvenirs, like those little koalas that all the foreigners love, and maybe some Vegemite so you can share it with your friends that you make there. And also it's good gifts for like if you go to like family stays, so to give your host families and things. So that's a good one to have. Yeah, and I just like to say, like, make sure you touch base with your friends and family before you head off. So have like a farewell party or something like that before you leave, because it's really easy to lose touch with friends and family when you're on exchange, because you're busy immersing yourself in a new place and making new friends and that sort of thing. Yeah, and just keep copies. Keep like double copies of everything. Keep copies on a USB. Keep like copies. Yeah, email a copy to yourself of like stuff like the host letter, host acceptance letter. Passports, visas, all that kind of stuff.
So travel and money. So what Caroline was saying earlier in the presentation, if you are eligible for Centrelink, please request for a Centrelink letter from UQ Abroad. That's when you get your acceptance letter. And if you haven't been eligible for Centrelink before, just double check the guidelines, because you might be if you're overseas. So booking flights. A lot of questions about pre-exchange travel. Please make sure that you've at least got your acceptance and your visa secured before you plan any travel before your exchange. It's very, very stressful, I know, for booking flights last minute, but it's also stressful re-booking flights and losing a lot of money. Make sure you prepare for your arrival as well. So everyone already knows what city they're going to, but how they're going to get to their accommodation if you are staying a few days before your dorms are opened. So make sure you check the transport of the city you're going to and the accommodation and where you're staying. With money, we do recommend that you have multiple sources of funds, so don't just carry a lot of cash around with you, because it is quite unsafe. And if you are using your bank card from home, make sure that you notify your bank that you are using it overseas, especially if you are traveling or transiting throughout different countries as well. Make sure you let them know as well which countries you're traveling to. Travel money cards are very useful as well, and as Bogart said, they will give you 2 copies sometimes, so that would be good to even carry them in different luggages. So I carried cash with me on my handbag, but I also put some in my hand carry luggage. So don't just put all of your cash or cards in one place, because they can get lost, they can get stolen, and you don't want to ruin your trip when you haven't even started.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, when you arrive, it's going to be a lot to take in. First week, like week equivalent over there. So yeah, just take it step by step. Go to the orientation. That's always good to familiarize yourself with the campus, and some places you might not even go perhaps at all, except on the walking tour they have of campus. Yeah, so make sure you change your address in Signet to reflect your current address on exchange. That's really important for Centrelink as well, particularly. Yeah, make sure to check your UQ email while overseas. I know a couple of times I've been overseas, they send notifications if there's any major news occurrences in the country you're in. So make sure you check that. Yeah, and also have a copy of UQ Abroad's contact information. And the host university's contact information as well. They'll usually give you like a little booklet or something at orientation anyways. So yeah, the first few weeks of semester can be quite a blur. So just make sure you get involved as much as you can. Join on their equivalent of market day. Go join some clubs and societies. That's a great way to make friends with people who have similar interests with you. And that's kind of the time when everyone's sort of making friends and settling in. Yeah, and I've been asked to tell you my top tips. And I'll start with probably like the course, the academic side of things. Make sure you have like extra courses approved before you go there. So not just like the bare minimum, but a couple of extra, because it's quite often, well, in my experience, they canceled one of the courses because not enough enrollment. So I had to change courses, and it can be quite painstaking to have to contact UQ Abroad or contact your faculty while you're overseas trying to get extra courses approved. So yeah, so definitely do that. In terms of courses, just remember, like I know exchange is really fun, but there are course requirements, and the course requirements can be quite different to UQ. So the UK system, even though I was in China, I was studying at a UK institution, and the UK system is 6 courses is equivalent to 4 courses full-time at UQ. And I found that a bit challenging because, yeah, the 6 courses were a bit easier and there was less content. Like it wasn't 12, 13 weeks of content, but the 6 courses, each course had equivalent of 1 course UQ assessment requirements. So I was like doing 6 times the assessment as opposed to 4 times the assessment, and that was quite challenging to manage, I found. So yeah, just remember that is different. So you will be challenged in terms of your learning and the way you do things normally at UQ. Yeah, so on that, like, because I kind of struggled with managing all the assessments, and they were due kind of towards the end of semester, I didn't take enough opportunity to go traveling on the weekends and things at the start of semester, because I was always like, oh yeah, I'll do that at the end. I'll do that towards the end. And then towards the end, I got so bogged down with assessment that I couldn't really travel much towards, in the city I was in, or around the city I was in. So yeah, take the first few weeks to travel. It's also a great way to make friends. So yeah, I definitely recommend doing that, and seeing the area that you're in. Yeah, and just be prepared to, I guess the last thing I want to leave you guys with is be prepared to challenge yourself. You're going to be exposed to a completely new environment, completely new learning environment, as I said, completely different culture. So you're going to have to do things that you're not you wouldn't ordinarily do at home a lot of the time. So just have an open mind, be adaptable, be flexible. But yeah, you're going to really love it. It's one of the best experiences you'll do at uni for sure.
All right, so my top tips. With technology, make sure that your phones are unlocked. I feel like everyone freaks out when their phones are locked and they can't speak the foreign language. So just make sure with technology that you've got your chargers, everything's unlocked, you've got a roaming SIM or a SIM card that you can use while you're over there. With courses as well, I don't know, with some host universities you can plead with the with the lecturer if you can get into those classes. So if you're very, very desperate, go and talk to the professors. Sometimes if they find out that you're an exchange student, they will allow you to get into classes if you're very, very desperate. And yeah, make the most out of your exchange. It's orientation, I get, it's like corny sometimes because you have to introduce yourself and you have to embarrass yourself because you feel like it's, I don't know, not cool. Who cares? No one knows you. So just have fun, and it's going to go very fast. So please make the most out of your experience. Make a lot of friends with the local students as well, because they're firsthand going to help you in your exchange as well. So yeah, thanks guys.
Thank you, Eddie and Bogart. Did anyone have any questions for Eddie or Bogart? All right, I got some questions for you. Chocolate's up for grab. What was Eddie's tip on money? Oh, pink over there. Multiple sources, very good. What was Bogart's tip about weekend trips? What do you need to take with you? Yeah, in the yellow? Oh, no. No? Anybody? Yeah. In the blue? Yep. Take a power converter or a charger, yep. What was a good way to make friends? In the white at the front? Joining societies or groups. Yep, join clubs and societies. And that's all I had. So we'll keep moving. Lucky door prizes. Okay, you got given a little card, ACE Assistance, which is now Chubb Assistance card. Have a look at that card. If there's a little red dot up in the top right-hand corner, you get one of our lucky door prizes, which are down the front. The UQ T-shirts. So we've got some girls' sizes on the right-hand side, so your left-hand side, and the boys on the other side. So if you've got a red dot, come down, come and get your T-shirt.
you still need me for anything, or?
That's all.
Great.
Good to go.
Can I take a t-shirt too? Is that? Remember last semester I asked them to do it.
Oh, there weren't any left.
Yeah.
If no one takes those last two, I think they might be fit only.
Guys, to bed.
Yeah, go and sit.
Okay.
All right, guys, we'll keep moving. We've still got a lot to cover. So next we have Sharon from Student Services here at UQ, and she's going to have a quick chat to you about culture shock.
Okay, so it's all exciting. This is a good opportunity to talk about, how to prepare yourselves and get ready for your trip ahead. Not to sound a bit of doom and gloom, but there will be things there's a PowerPoint there, to have a think about and how to prepare yourself for. Thanks. So culture shock, it's a highly individual experience. I'm not here to say that each one of you is going to experience every symptom that we go over. Everyone's different. You may find that you experience a lot of things, or the degree of it is quite small. So it is highly individual. Keep in mind that it's normal. So my main message through this presentation is that it's normal to experience some culture shock. If your expectations are realistic in that sense, it will be easier. So the people that find the hardest time are the ones that go there and think, I'll be fine, I'll be right, she'll be right, mate. I'll settle in, I'll make new friends, we're all good. They're the ones that probably struggle the most because it comes as a shock. So I see international students here all the time on exchange from their home countries, and they're here in Australia, and they say, I just didn't expect this. I didn't expect it to be so hard. I didn't expect to have to translate everything and think about everything so much. I didn't expect it to be hard to make friends. So it's really, firstly, about your expectations. It may be weeks, it may be months, so it's really different. Just prepare yourself for that. Some people find the cultural differences exciting, so you may get overseas and find it really exciting. Most people do at the start. I'll go through that in a second. And then for others, it can be a discomfort, a feeling of discomfort, that things are so different. It's not home, it's not what I'm used to, everything's so different, it's quite confusing, and that's really where culture shock sets in. So there's 4 stages of culture shock. There's no length that each will go for. Once again, depends on the individual. But the first one is often common. Everyone will feel some excitement. You get off the plane, you're excited, you smell that air, whether it's the bread, the fresh air, the bread in France, the trees, the cold climate, and you're expecting that. You're expecting changes to climate and food and things. Everything is new. It's like when you first go on a holiday, you're quite excited. You feel that it's an adventure and that everything will be fun. Perhaps that starts to die down a bit a few weeks later, a couple months later, and reality hits. Your academic study, the expectations of you trying to adjust to everything. Maybe what you found so fun and exciting at first is now quite different and annoying, and you perhaps hit the stage of irritation and hostility. And that's a stage where you may start comparing, oh, they don't do this back home, why do they do that here? It's so odd, it's so strange. You may start thinking about, I'm feeling really frustrated, this isn't what I expected. An example is, my family originates from Finland, so in Finland, people are quite introverted and quiet, and when you first meet them, they can come across as a bit rude, and you think, oh, they're not very friendly, they're not very outgoing, but it's actually the cultural norm there of how they converse with each other. Similar to Sweden, so a lot of you going to European countries, they're quite private people, so you might hit a stage where you start to compare and think, oh, in Australia, everyone's so friendly and laid back. Here, they're quite private, and it's hard to get to know people. It's hard for people to open up, and even in Sweden, to show outwardly displays of emotion is not normal, and it's like a cultural don't. So the cultural do's and don'ts may be a shock because people don't always prepare for that. They may prepare for climate, food changes, language, but they may not prepare for the underlying cultural differences, and that's where you can feel a bit of a shock. Whereas if you're going to America, it's very different in terms of how they display their emotion and affection, and so that's quite different there. So have a think about that and prepare yourself for those differences. So you may feel a bit down, you may feel a bit irritable. Gradually you'll get to stage 3. You will adjust, you will now start to interpret these cultural differences that are quite subtle, that you didn't prepare yourself for, you know, the unspoken messages, the unspoken rules of the country. You'll start to adjust to that and you will feel a bit better. Stage 4 is when you adapt, so you will start to feel at home. You would have made friends, you would have settled in, you will have an understanding of what's expected of you, and you would have adjusted to your culture there. So keep that in mind. There are 4 stages if you do feel changes in your emotions and how you're feeling. One of the best ways to have a look at it is a cycle of adjustment. So you start here on the left. This is you leaving home soon. You will be happy, sad, probably mostly happy. You will leave home and arrive in your host country, so not in Australia, but your host country. And you'll probably be confused, tired, but happy. You'll see that this is a U curve. It starts to hit a bit of a low. So this is a very well-researched common experience where you will be on a high and then you'll kind of start to hit a bit of a low. You'll perhaps feel a bit unhappy. You'll start questioning, what am I doing here? Was I right to come to this country? This is so different and strange to me. You will adjust, so remember that you will climb back up the U curve. You will slowly start to fit in, you'll be studying, your confidence will regain, and you'll have new friends. And then you'll reach the top, and before you know it, you would have completed your study in your host country. So it's an adjustment curve. You may feel that you go down and then back up again. So have hope. It does get better if you do feel you're hitting a bit of a low once you're there. So some things that may surprise you is how you feel, a range of emotions. Culture shock and homesickness can bring out the good, the bad, the ugly in us. And you may think, oh, I'm not normally this stressed, I don't normally sleep this much or this little. Or you might feel that you are unmotivated, quite tired and anxious. Have a think about these symptoms and remember if you do feel these, that it's normal and that there's a lot of support that you can seek. So this is mainly to just tell you it's normal. Don't stress. Even if you're stressing at the moment, think, okay, that's right, that lady at that culture shock presentation said that I may feel these things. Let's do something about it. So some other things to expect differences in, because remember, it's all about your expectations. Keep them realistic. Be prepared. Obviously, we've already been through, there's going to be a lot of educational differences and climate, housing, food. I don't know if you enjoy going to grocery stores in other countries. I do. I always go straight for the food. Like, oh, where's the supermarket? I want to try all their food. And then after a while, it starts to just get really annoying and you think, oh, I don't even know what this food is. It's not new and exciting anymore. I just want to go to Woolies where I don't even have to think and all that food's there. Or I just want to go back to my mum and she can cook me that food. So it can start to get a bit old quickly when you really don't recognize any food and things. So keep that in mind. There will be differences. You'll have to adjust to that. Public transport, the environment, and obviously shopping hours. Most people complain about that coming to Australia, that we close everything so early. So you'll probably find that you go to where you're going and it's the opposite. You know, late night shopping all the time. So some tips for you in preparing yourself, because being prepared is key, is self-awareness. So this is an exciting opportunity, we keep saying to you. Be open-minded. Be positive, be willing to learn, and listen, watch, and observe. One of the best ways to learn and understand your environment is to observe it. Look around you. How do people interact? What should I be doing? What's the cultural norm? Give it time. it will take time. So culture shock and homesickness can take a couple of months for you to really settle in, sometimes even many months. Everyone's different. And stay in touch with family and friends. Keep a diary, you've got Facebook, blog, take a lot of photos. Once you get home, eventually, you'll want to keep that experience alive. So really take a lot of photos and keep those memories. Keep your sense of humor. Laugh at your mistakes. You are going to make a fool of yourself, I'm sure of it. You're going to embarrass yourself. You're going to say things. You'll probably say the wrong thing, offend someone. You will do things that will embarrass you, and you'll think back later, oh, I can't believe I said that or did that. But laugh at yourself and remember that you're learning and you're adjusting to a new culture. So you are really in charge of shaping your own experience. We've already talked about getting involved in activities. Put yourself out there, introduce yourself to others. It's not easy, but the person next to you will probably be just as afraid to talk to you as you are to them. Don't assume that everyone else is just so confident all the time. Put yourself out there and your confidence will grow. Set some small goals for each day. Get a lot of exercise, sleep, and eat well. I know that if you're going to the US, there'll be burgers and buffalo wings and all those things that I just love, but you need to think about eating well and exercising and looking after your health. It's so important for your mental health and for your physical health as well. So once you do hit that stage of homesickness, it's normal. Think about what you can do. Set aside a time each week maybe. I've done that when I've traveled and been away from family. So once a week I'd say to my family, Sunday night, 8 p.m., that's us. We're there Skyping. And that's like your set time every week. It's something you can look forward to every week. Think about how you can keep in contact with family, friends, what's going to help you. Try something new. That's why you're doing this, isn't it? Try something new, make friends, try the language, experience it, and remind yourself it's an adventure. You're definitely not alone. So there are a lot of family and friends you can rely on, meeting other locals there and other Aussies as well. Find out how university works. So I'm part of the student services support team here. I help international students here. There will be the same thing in your host country. Look for support staff that will help you as you will be an international student. So talk to people, seek support, attend activities, and involve yourself as much as you can. So student services support here, we do have online counseling that you can access. So if for some reason you can't find someone to talk to straight away, you can access online counseling from student services, but it can take a couple of days for them to get back to you. Institutions will also have counseling, so if you do find that your homesickness isn't just general feelings of frustration and sadness, that you are really quite depressed, you're really struggling, then seek some counseling. So take-home messages is remember to expect culture shock. Prepare yourself as much as you can. Everyone's experience is different, and laugh at your mistakes and really enjoy it. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sharon. All right, Chalky Frog time. How many stages of culture shock are there? Right up the back. Sorry? Incorrect. Right next to them. Four stages of culture shock. What are some of the feelings that you might experience while you're overseas on exchange that are all completely normal? Yep. Yep. Depressed, yeah, you may be depressed. Any other feelings? Yep. Loneliness, yep. Any other feelings? Right at the back. Irritable, yep. All those things you might feel, and they're all completely normal, as Sharon said. So, if you are feeling those things, what can you do to help feel better? Seek advice and support. Yep. Make friends, yep. Contact home, yep. Stay in touch. Right at the back. Set small goals each day, absolutely. Fantastic, guys. All right, I can see that we've got another presenter here who's in a couple more slides from where I am, but we might jump straight to you if you're ready, Dave. You brought yours with you?
Hey guys. Hello. So I'm the marketing officer at UQ Advantage, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about staying connected while you're on exchange. So there's a few ways you can stay connected with us. Facebook and Instagram are the two main ones. Especially with Instagram, we love to keep a track of the students who are on exchange and share your photos. So make sure while you're away, if you're taking great photos, you get in touch with us and we'll follow you, and use the hashtag UQ Abroad or UQ Advantage and tag us, and we'll keep up to date with what you're doing and hopefully share your photos. We're hoping to launch a YouTube channel soon, so I'll talk about the importance of taking video as well. It's not just about taking great photos, we'd love to see some video. And you can also get in touch with us through email and stay up to date with everything that's happening back home and opportunities that you might be able to take advantage of while you're away if you sign up to the newsletter as well. So I think I'll jump straight into one of the first things with taking great photos and video, and that's trying to get a good camera. And there's plenty of options out there. There's action cameras, there's DSLRs, and also the accessories that go along with them. Getting a good camera before you go is really important so that you can really capture the experience. It's not just about us getting good content from you, it's about you guys having great memories when you return, and you can look back on and relive them. So we answered this question in the Facebook group, and that's probably another way I should have mentioned you can stay in touch with us. There's a UQ Abroad Facebook group, so if you join that as well, that's great for getting tips and experiences from people who have actually been on exchange, or discuss concerns you might have with other people going through the same thing who are about to embark on an exchange. In terms of cameras, I'm not going to go through this in too much detail, but if you sign up to the Facebook group, we did talk about this a couple of weeks ago, and there's a pretty good post there that goes through this. If you're looking for a really point-and-click camera, you're not fussed about settings and lenses, then a compact camera is a good, cheap option. And then you can sort of step up from there if you want to have a little bit more flexibility in the shots you take by playing with the camera settings a bit more, or changing up the lenses. A mirrorless camera is good, or a DSLR if you're looking to go a bit more pro. There's plenty of options with those, and depending on how much money you have in your budget, you can be taking some pretty amazing photos. I would argue that an action camera is almost a must-have if your budget allows it. These things are versatile and rugged. You can take them pretty much everywhere, and if you're going to do a bit of adventuring while you're away, anything that you don't want your camera to get wet, or you want something that's really small and handy, then an action camera is just perfect for that. And I'll talk soon about how remembering that your camera phone is usually pretty good as well. It can be a best friend. So some photography tips. We live in a bit of a digital age, and everyone's probably on Instagram, so I think everyone, whether consciously or otherwise, has learnt how to take a good photo by now. So I won't go into this too much, but just for those of you who are thinking, how do I take a good photo though? What do you take photos of? The sights and adventures that you have while you're over there, your host university. It might not seem like that's something that other people might want to see, but it's actually a really good thing to showcase the host university you're at. Any friends and networking opportunities you get over there, share those sorts of things as well, and any activities and events. How do you take the winning shot? Familiarise yourself with the camera, particularly if you get a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. Those cameras have really great settings. If you familiarise yourself just with the basics of it, you can really take your shots to the next level. Think about framing, perspective, focus, making sure that if you have a beautiful landscape in front of it, you capture it properly. Lighting and exposure, size, resolution, and get inspired by joining up to travel blogs and following other people on Instagram who are taking the sorts of shots that you would like to take. And also take heaps of photos. There's no real limit to how many photos you can take, so take lots and then you can go through them later and pick the best ones. As I said, your phone is your friend. Most phones have really good cameras these days. Don't be afraid to whip it out when you can't take a big camera somewhere and take some photos on your camera, on your phone. And also with your phone you can download plenty of different editing apps that help you take the photo and make it look a bit prettier. But in saying that, I would say go easy on the filters. Sometimes you can overdo it. I think we've all seen photos where people have done that. Try creating your own style, playing with some of the settings, just sort of trial and error with some of the settings in the edit sections of, say, Instagram or VSEO or Snapseed. If you play with things like luminosity, structure, saturation, warmth, you can really make your photos a lot more vibrant. And there's plenty of settings within those apps that allow you to sort of save those settings for future photos. And that's just a bit of a highlight of what you can do. You can take a photo and it might seem a bit dull when you first look at it on your camera. But just by playing with those simple settings, you can really bring it to life. And try and convey the number of times you come back from travelling and just go, oh, my photo just doesn't do it justice. Try and get it to do justice. Video is really important. There's no more interactive medium than video. It's just so engaging, and it really helps people vicariously experience what you were doing at the time, especially if you're doing adventure activities or really travelling throughout a country. A video is a great way to sort of snapshot that experience. So a couple of examples of good photos. These are photos where they've really thought about what they're taking a photo of. They've edited it well, they've thought about their landscape, they've made it a bit unique, and they've really put some personality into the photo as well. That's important. Capture your personality in photos as well. The not so good, and I'm not trying to bag anyone, I hope no one's in the room who took one of these photos, but just think about lighting. If your background's dark, if your foreground's dark, if there's too much light and it's overexposed. Sometimes it's really hard to capture a photo, but that's when those editing apps and taking a bit of time after you've taken the photo can be really good to improve it. And also don't jump in the way of a great scenery and put your head in the way. Sort of frame yourself so that you get both. As I said, it's really important to stay in contact. Facebook, Instagram, they're the two main ways, but you can also get in touch with us via email and stay in touch through the newsletter. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dave. Okay, chocolate frog time. What are some of the do's for taking good photos? Or, what are some of the don'ts? 2 slides ago, what was the bad thing about the photo? Don't overuse filters. Yep, right up the back. Don't block the scenery. Have we got any of the do's? I don't? Sorry? Yep, try to avoid bad lighting. Some of the do's for taking good photos? Yep. Yep, play with the settings, get to know your camera, know what it can do. Yep. Take lots of photos. You're bound to get one good one if you take a heap. And how can you stay in contact with UQ Abroad while you're on exchange? Facebook. You only get one chocolate for that. Very good, fantastic. All right, let's get back to our presentation. Okay, so next we've got Andrea, who's going to talk to us a little bit about employability and really harnessing your exchange and making the absolute most out of it that you can.
Hi everyone, my name's Andrea Reid. Normally this would be Anna Richards delivering this, but Anna's in Fiji this week on holidays. Lucky Anna. Anna and I worked together for 2 years on the employability project at UQ, which is now part of the student strategy. You might have heard about the student strategy. And I'm doing my PhD on employability as well. So we're fully in the whole employability space. I always feel like I'm the fun police whenever I come and speak, because you've had people talk to you before about the awesomeness of studying, and then studying abroad, and the experience, and then I talk about employability, and it's a bit of a downer, but hopefully you'll see the value in what I'm saying. So it's not much today, just a little bit to give you an idea before you study abroad, or go abroad. So employability, just so you know, it's not about getting a job. It's about being able to do a job and make a valuable contribution to an organisation. Okay, so you might have heard a lot about employability, and it's just really important to understand the difference between it and employment. So there are actually loads of people out there who are highly employable who don't have jobs necessarily. Okay, so it's not actually about getting a job, it's just about your potential, which you're developing throughout your degree and all the things that you're doing, which is got there on the slide. It's about the development of the capabilities and mindsets you will need to navigate the complexities of the workplace now and in the future. So your exchange experience is an amazing opportunity to develop your employability. Lots of things are going to happen to you while you're away, some good and some bad, but they're all potential learning experiences. The other important thing to think about is your abroad experience will also give you lots of really rich examples for selection criteria when you go for job interviews. Because think about all of you here graduating at some point and all going for a job interview, employers will ask you a lot of similar kinds of questions. And when they try to make a decision about who to employ, they're looking for interesting examples. So when you get asked a question about teamwork or about facing a challenge or something like that, you'll have really interesting examples to use that will help you stand out from other people. So I know you've heard today that this is a great experience you're going to have, and there's lots of learning you can get from it. It's really important that you can reflect on your experiences during your time abroad, and I think there's some information in the pre-departure guide about how to do this. When you get back from your exchange next year, Anna will be running a workshop to help you translate your experience, to make sense out of it. We've been working with students for 2 years now and doing these workshops, and we find when you come back, it's often quite easy to go, that was awesome, I've changed a lot and it was a fantastic experience. But being able to actually pinpoint what you learnt from that experience in terms of your development, in terms of your employability, is often a bit harder to do. So that's what that workshop is for. So an email will come around, obviously this is way in the future, but when you get back with information on the workshop, so you'll know when it'll be on, you can come along. In the meantime, you might like to check out the MOOC that we've created. I'm not sure if you've heard about this. It's called Unlocking Your Employability. So UQ has produced a number of MOOCs. They are massive open online courses, so they're free to sign up for. And we have a number of topics that we've created MOOCs about. And Anna and I have created one about employability. So if you're interested in learning a bit more about it and understanding how you can learn from your experiences, you can go to edx.org and make an account. Just make sure you make an account with your UQ email address so we can track how many of our 20,000 learners are from UQ, and then find the course on the catalogue and enrol. So basically, we don't want you to go around whichever country you're going to be studying in with a clipboard and kind of, writing down, today this was a learning experience, because that definitely would not be fun. But it's just really important that you go through your experience with your eyes open, because it's amazing how many things that will happen to you, how many challenges you'll have to face, how many new experiences that will happen to you that will be an opportunity for learning. And that those things you can actually apply to how you will perform in the workplace when you get out of university and into your profession. So don't think that because you're studying and you're travelling and you're doing things that are not related to work that this wouldn't be a valuable experience, because employability is about your development. It's but not what you have so much, but what you are, the kind of person you are. And we know there is plenty of research out there that shows that employers really value new graduates who have studied abroad. They think that tells them something about the kind of person that you are. So make the most of the experience. Come to the workshop when you get back, and we'll help you really unpack that experience and link it to your employability. And have fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. All right, a couple of questions. What is employability about? Bit of an open question, lots of different possible answers. So have a think. What did Andrea say employability was? It wasn't about getting a job. It was about?
It's like the ability to do a job well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, your ability to be employable. Mm-hmm. Any others? Chocolate frog up for grabs? It's about a lot of different things. It's about gaining skills and attributes and learning and knowing how to use those to convey that to an employer. So something for you guys to think about once you've finished your exchange. But really important, as Andrew said, to go through your exchange with your eyes open. All right, now we're going to head back a couple of slides. Okay. So that's the end of our presenters, so you just got me for the rest of the time here today. And I'm going to go through a few of the logistics, the kind of nuts and bolts of exchange, and what you need to think about while you're over at your host university. So, courses and enrolment. You've all gone through the study plan process, assessing courses from the host university, presenting them to your UQ faculty here, and hopefully you've all received confirmation that those courses are going to be okay and that they're going to be able to give you credit back towards your UQ program. When you actually arrive and you enrol in your courses at your host university, you need to be prepared for a few things. They might be smaller classes. Sometimes host universities, the class might be 20 students and that's it. So as soon as 20 students have signed up for it, that's it, enrolment's closed. Here at UQ, if we have more interested students, we just put in a bigger lecture theatre or we add on an extra tutorial. A lot of our host universities don't do that. So you need to be prepared that the courses that you want to get into may not be available because they're already full. A lot of the host universities overseas also don't take recordings like we do here. They don't necessarily have a Blackboard site like we do here. So you need to be present and you need to be taking notes. In some classes, attendance is actually taken and it contributes to your overall grade. So if you miss 2 or 3 classes, you might fail that particular course. So please make sure that you are really aware of the host university rules and regulations around those kind of details. Sometimes grading criteria isn't provided. And as Bogart mentioned before, you most likely will have a different study load than you have here at UQ. UQ typically is 4 courses. At your host university, you might only be doing 2 courses. You might be doing 4 courses. You might be doing 6 courses. You might be doing 10 courses. That's quite normal. Every university is different and they will have different study loads required. Overall, on the balance, you should have about as much content and contact hours as you do here at UQ. If you're doing language study, you might have more contact hours because it's more intensive. But on the whole, you should be doing about the same amount of work in and outside of class. Different assessments. All over the world, there are different forms of assessment. You might have continuous small assessment throughout the semester, quite common in the US. You might have 100% final exams, quite common in the UK. You might have oral exams, which are really common in France. So you don't have any assessment during the semester, but at the end of the year, at the end of the semester, you have to get up and you have to present a speech, basically, to your professor in your class. So please, when you get there, or even before you get to your host university, familiarise yourself with the different academic standards that the host university requires of you. And as Etty said before, if you're really struggling or you're having some problems, or if you really want to get into a particular class to get credit back at UQ, have a talk with the professors or the lecturers of that particular program. If you explain to them that you're an international student, that you really have to do this course to get credit back at your home university, otherwise you're not going to graduate on time. I've heard some people say that if they cried, it helped the situation. So be prepared to play the international student card, because it's true. You know, you guys have had the approval here at UQ, and you need to get that course overseas. So don't be afraid in going to speak to people. The professors and use the international office as well, as Eddie said. So we do have quite a lot of students asking us about full-time load. There are differences depending on who you speak with about what the full-time load is required at your host university. The full-time load that you need to study at your host university is determined by UQ, not by the host university. The host university might have some recommendations or suggestions, but in the end, UQ is the one who says how much you need to study overseas in order to be eligible for 8 units of credit towards your UQ degree. So please make sure that you check the UQ Abroad website and your host university page, because it very clearly states there what you are expected to study overseas in order to get 8 units of credit at UQ. In a couple of slides there's a little explanation of what those might be depending on the regions. Just that little example there, the visa requirements versus UQ full-time requirements. For your student visa, you may only be required to complete a certain number of credits. We have a very similar situation here at UQ. The minimum full-time load here at UQ is 6 units, which is usually 3 courses. That's what you need to be enrolled in to make sure that you meet your visa requirements as an international student, or be eligible for Centrelink, travel concession cards, all of those kind of things. But the real actual 100% study load is still 8 units. So you need to make sure that you check and confirm exactly what you are required to do at the host university in order to get your full 8 units of credit back here at UQ. If you can't get into your approved courses, as I mentioned, you can always try and seek the assistance of the professors or the international office, or you can send in some new courses to be approved by your faculty. Now, if you're doing this on a new study plan after you've arrived at your host university, it's really stressful. It's stressful for you, it's stressful for the faculty, it's stressful for us, it's stressful for everybody involved. So what we'd like you to do is, between the end of your exams and when you fly out, go back to the host university website, have a check again on their course catalogue, check that everything you've had pre-approved by your faculty here at UQ is still being offered. If it's not, if there are new courses, if there's something different, put in a new study plan, get some new courses pre-approved before you leave Australia, because as soon as you leave Australia it's going to be 10 times harder. If you do have to seek more credit once you've arrived at the host university and you're in their enrolment add-drop period, it is possible, but you need to be prepared that it might take longer than you need. So you might be working on a 3-day deadline. The faculty is probably going to take more than that to be able to turn around your assessment. So just keep that in mind. If you end up having to take a course and you haven't had it pre-approved, keep the syllabus, keep your assessment, bring it back to UQ and ask them to do a retrospective credit approval. Also, any communications that you might have with professors, your faculty, keep all of those communications as evidence for when you get back home if there are any issues with credit transfer. So our lovely pizza, my boss likes to use this a lot. So UQ pizza, 8 units, 4 courses typically. Host university pizza, same size pizza, but they cut it up differently. In Canada and the US, typically it's 15 credits, which is usually 5 courses. In the UK, typically 60 credits, which might be anywhere between 3 and 6 courses. In Europe, 30 ECTS is the typical full-time load, which could be anywhere between 2 and 8 courses. And in Asia, it really varies. There are so many differences in Asia. So as you can see, there are differences, and you need to be really well aware of exactly what is required of you. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to come and contact UQ Abroad. For any students who are thinking that they might like to take less than a standard full-time load while they're on exchange, as I mentioned before, the 75% load here at UQ, the 6 units, that still qualifies you as a full-time student, but you're doing the minimum full-time load, which is 75%. So while you're on exchange, there are some circumstances where you're allowed to take this reduced load, or 75% equivalent as well. If you're going overseas in your final semester and you only have 6 units remaining in your whole degree, then you're generally allowed to reduce your enrolment here at UQ. You do need to seek prior approval to get a reduced study load approved, and that's simply an email to Jan, our manager, requesting that you have a reduced load approved. Quite often, if you've got a medical situation as well, or if you're studying in a foreign language, if you require to only do 6 units in order to be eligible for the OS Help Loan, that might be another reason why you can request special permission to do a reduced load. You need to make sure that you contact UQ Abroad well ahead of the census date, because that's the important date for your UQ tuition fees, that you can't change your UQ enrolment after March 31 without financial penalty. So if you do have to reduce your load, make sure you do it before the 31st of March. Taking more than a full-time load, so the equivalent of UQ 10 units, is not allowed, and it's not encouraged. And you guys want to go over and have a good time. You don't want to have your head stuck in books all the time. So really more than a full-time load is not encouraged. If you are a Bachelor of International Studies student, you do have that 1 unit writing course that is concurrent with your exchange. So that means that you'll be enrolled in 9 units while you're on exchange, and then 7 units in the following semester. That's obviously allowed. Okay, grades and GPA. The grades that you receive from your host university will be presented on a transcript from the host university, along with all the courses that you were enrolled in. If you fail a course at your host university, it will be represented on the host university transcript. However, when those credits are transferred to your UQ degree, the grades or any failing courses will not transfer through to your UQ transcript. It's simply transferred through as credit transfer, which will come up as a T. So there's no grades from your host university attached to your UQ transcript. However, if you are thinking about going on to honours, if you are in the running for the university medal, if you're going on to med school, and for some job applications, they will want to see your host university transcript. So the grades that you've received at your host university may then come into play. If you want to withdraw from a course at your host university, this comes into the reduced full-time load equation. But if you happen to do it after the March 31 census date here at UQ, then it's really between you and the host university. You need to make sure that you remain enrolled in the number of courses that satisfy your student visa requirements at the host university, but other than that, it's completely between yourself and the host university. There may be a penalty for withdrawal, but again, that's a host university matter. Altering your time on exchange. We get a lot of students, I've had a number of emails just in the last week, students having such a good time on exchange that they want to extend and they want to stay on for another semester at their host university. Unfortunately, if you haven't already organised to do 2 semesters on exchange, you won't be able to extend once you're already over there. It's just simply not possible to extend exchanges at this point in time because we have set our numbers, our quotas for exchange in the coming semesters, and we've balanced it out with the host university. So unfortunately, I'm really sad to say that you're not going to be able to extend your exchange once you get there. If you arrive and you absolutely have to stay, you don't want to come back to Australia, then you might be interested in considering what we call being a free mover. Some universities also call this being a study abroad student, so be careful that you don't confuse that with UQ Abroad. So UQ Abroad is exchange, a reciprocal exchange of students between the host university and UQ. Study abroad or free mover is where you are a completely independent international student going overseas on your own accord. You liaise directly with the host university, you pay international student tuition fees directly to the host university as a free mover. So financially that might just rule it out as an option for you, but hey, if you've got a spare $10,000, $20,000, it might be an option for you. Coming home early, if you experience difficulties, a few of my students last semester, they had family crises back here in Australia and they had to leave their exchange early. You're absolutely welcome to come home if you need to, if you feel that's what you need to do. But you need to be aware that there may be some financial penalties associated for your accommodation. You might need to pay early exit fees. Withdrawal from your host university, as I mentioned, that's completely their processes and standards. I can't comment on the host university. And if you happen to return home before that March 31 census date, then obviously your enrolment can't change at UQ and you will still be required to pay UQ tuition fees for those exchange codes, even if you aren't able to complete your exchange. So Do you know, consider these items when you're thinking about potentially coming home. Obviously, we don't want you to be in a position at the host university where you feel uncomfortable, but you do need to be aware that there are some consequences to these actions. A final few words about representing UQ while you're on exchange. Exchange is a privilege, not a right. You need to earn your way into exchange, and you have all done that by going through the application process, figuring out your study plans, which I know is a big headache for a lot of people, and you've earned the right to be here. So make the most of it. While you're overseas, you're going to be identified as an Australian, as a Queenslander, as a UQ student. You're not just going to be Mary Smith, you're going to be all of those things first. So keep that in mind and remember that you are going to be representing all of those different things while you're overseas on exchange. I would like to remind everybody, especially at this time when it's very stressful for everybody with exams, that you need to abide by the UQ Student Charter at all times and in all communications. You need to be respectful and polite. There have been a few situations where students are feeling particularly stressed, and they have put that in an email to the faculty, and it's really not appropriate. So before you press send, just take a breath, have a coffee, have some fresh air, come back, review your email, and think, would I like to receive this if I was on the receiving end? Is this respectful? Is this polite? Please make sure that you keep those in mind when you're communicating with your faculty, with UQ Abroad, with your host university, or anyone else involved with your exchange. So, while you're on exchange, you're still a UQ student, but you also need to respect all of the host university rules and regulations, policies, academic processes, etc. And please remember that your behaviour can actually affect our whole exchange agreement with the host university. A couple of years ago, we had some students at one particular university did a few naughty things, and the host university cancelled their exchange agreement with UQ. So, you really need to behave. Have a great time, but also remember that what you do can seriously affect other people. The only reason that you're going on exchange is because other students went on exchange before you, and students from that host university are coming back to UQ. So you're the reason that future semesters of exchange students are going to be able to go. So while you're at your host university, we need you to help build the exchange program and to help build UQ as an attractive destination for students to come to. So please, if there are any events that are being offered at your host university, exchange fairs or global experiences expos, or Australia information sessions, or if you can hold a barbecue to celebrate Australia Day or something like that, we'd love you to do that to help promote UQ and help promote Australia while you're overseas. Just don't be one of the budgie 9. We don't need to have Australian flags on budgie smugglers. Yeah, so as I mentioned, raise the profile of UQ and Brisbane at your host university. And that's really all I have to say. So are there any questions at all? No? I've completely filled your brain and everything's all been answered. If you do have any questions at all, please feel free to email us. We're still here over the Christmas holidays. We don't get to go on holidays, unfortunately. We're still at our desks. But we do wish you all the very, very best for your exchange, very best for your exams coming up. We hope you have a fabulous time. Send us a postcard. We love getting postcards. So have a fabulous time, safe travels, and we look forward to seeing you back after your exchange.